Jesus did not choose one woman to be an apostle. Could have. St. Mary Magdalene, whom we celebrate today, would have been a great choice. I mean, he certainly upset the apple cart in every other tradition. He did work on the Sabbath. He sat children on his lap and taught them as a rabbi. He talked to that Samaritan woman. He even drank from her cup. He announced that he was able to forgive sins. He broke all of the Pharisees' religious rules. And yet he did not appoint one female apostle. I guess a lot of people just think it was an oversight. Jesus just got busy and forgot to tick that one off his list. And yet, at the crucial moments of his ministry, at the biggest moments, who did he include? Women. Mother Mary, at the biggest moment maybe. Mary, the sister of Lazarus, and her sister Martha. Biggest moments. The Samaritan woman, just going out to get water in the middle of the day to her well. That prostitute, for whom he interceded and stopped from being stoned. The most prominent woman of all, probably the one we celebrate today, Mary Magdalene, from whom he exorcised 7 demons. Of all the men standing around on that first Easter morning, she's the first to whom Jesus chooses to reveal himself as the resurrected Lord. She's also, by the way, mentioned more in the Gospels than almost any other apostle. Probably second only to Peter and John. And we don't really know a whole lot more about her. She was from Magdala, hence the name. She followed Jesus along with others. It's noted in the Gospel according to Luke that she had 7 demons driven from her by Jesus. Luke also tells us that she and the other women provided for Jesus, which means they probably were fairly wealthy. And that's about as much as we know. And having said what we know about her, she never wrote anything that we know of. Her work past the day of the resurrection is not noted in any of the biblical writings or the histories, and she certainly did not take a leadership role in the new church. I mean, if any woman would have been the first female apostle, it was Mary Magdalene. And she was not. When I was a little kid, I had a good friend named Angel. Angel was a little bit nutty. We don't really know why, but, like kids do, we just accepted it. It's just the way Angel was. And we always laughed when he said screwy things. And one of the fun things to do as kids was to ask Angel what he wanted to be when he grew up. And Angel would say that he wanted to be a black woman. And we laughed uproariously every time. Because in those days, there was no understanding or acceptance of being transgender. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think transracial is a possibility yet. I'm sure it will be eventually. And I don't know why Angel, a Hispanic kid, a male, wanted to be a black woman. But my point is that he understood it as a complete absurdity, a complete impossibility, and that's why we all thought it was funny. Well, now, of course, we live in a world where Angel could be, and for all I know, might be a black woman. But as ridiculous and as impossible as it once was, this has become routine. I suspect that all of us know someone or know of someone who is trans something or another, or identifies as something or another than what he really is. And the nagging question for me in the swirl of all of this trans this and trans that, the nagging question is, because it is possible, is it good? See, I think that Angel might have been asking the wrong question. Why can't I be a black woman? That would be the wrong question. I think the right question is, who has God made me? And what has God given me? Well, during my seminary years and my early years in the LCMS, I heard the question constantly, why can't women be pastors in the LCMS? In those days, there were all kinds of stupid answers to that question. Similar to the stupid answers that came with, why can't women be president, or why can't women be firefighters? Well, a woman might get pregnant, or a woman's not as strong as a man, or a woman might be too emotional to do that job. These were stupid answers. They were stupid answers from people who were panicking at this question that had never been asked before. And instead of carefully thinking through the question, they just threw out stupid answers, because obviously women can be all those things. Women can be pastors too. There's a shock for you. I know some who do a very fine job and would put to shame some of their male counterparts who are pretty much slacking. But the question is wrong. Why can't women be pastors? It's a wrong question to ask. The right question is, to whom did God give the office of the pastoral ministry? And that's quite clear from Scripture. He gave the pastoral office only to men. Jesus broke every cultural rule in the book. He had many women in his closest confidence, especially Mary Magdalene, who we celebrate today. But he gave the pastoral office only to men. He chose male apostles who would later ordain male pastors. Why? I have no earthly idea, and neither do you, and neither does anyone else. I also don't know why only women can get pregnant. I don't know why this earth has the exact right gravity to sustain life. I don't know why God decided that creation should be divided into male and female in the first place. But it is clear that God made a conscious decision to do all of these things, and I am positive he had a perfect reason for doing them, even if he didn't choose to share it with me, which he seldom does. So today we celebrate Mary Magdalene. We celebrate the incredible faith that God gave Mary and the other powerful women in the early days of the church. Were it not for women like Mary, the church could not have thrived in a hostile world in which she lived for nearly 300 years until Christianity was legal. It was Mary of Magdala, Lydia of Philippi, Priscilla of Rome, who did what faithful women are still doing today. They sacrificed themselves to serve God. I'm so incredibly proud of our two young women in this congregation who are soon to be deaconesses. Think of the money and the prestige that they are sacrificing in order to serve God. Look at our cantor, who has a PhD and yet chooses to serve this little congregation, playing the organ for us. Look at our youth director, who gets paid half-time and works double time to serve the youth and children of this congregation. Look at our secretary, who's not even a member of this congregation, and yet comes in early and stays late to make sure that all of the services in God's house are orderly. These women and all the dozens and dozens of volunteer women make this place work. They lift us up and they encourage us. They proclaim God, not only with their words, but with all of their actions. They evangelize day and night with their whole lives, starting first in their home. These faithful women make it possible for us to be church. God gifts them and empowers them to nurture and to support and to embolden his church with their faithfulness, even as this woman from Magdala did. That woman possessed by 7 demons who stumbled upon Jesus and was saved by him and chose to serve him all of her life. Never asking, why can't I be something other than what he has given me to be? But only faithfully serving the one who had placed her where she was.